Annie Glaudane, and I'm a non-stereotypical ballet dancer. Watch me break the rules. Well, starting ballet at 19 and then after half year being like, oh, I'm gonna be a professional ballet dancer. Obviously, I didn't even take myself seriously. Let's begin. Obviously, my parents weren't taking me seriously. They were like, come on, like seriously, you're only starting now. You should be over, like at 19, you're supposed to already be working as a professional, you know, and you're only beginning. Like, what are you thinking? Like, what's gonna be there? So my dad was especially scared for it because he kind of had this whole idea that if I don't make it in dancing, I might end up dancing in clubs and becoming a stripper. So he was really, really scared of that. But it didn't happen. So, and my mom always knew I was crazy, so she was kind of more supportive of my ideas, and she's had my back, even though at some points even she thought I was like crazy. But now it's gotten to the stage where everyone sees the work that I've done and how far I've come, and they're like, okay, it's okay, we support you now. After 20 years, you officially are a pensioner. I have a friend, she's a ballerina, she just finished being a soloist in Estonian National Opera. She's 43, and she looks about 30. And she's a pensioner. She has all her pensioner card and all the benefits and stuff, and she gets her pension, state pension. But because you've wrecked your body for the past how many years just for the culture of the people, you know, you've done your deeds, like, relax. So then people just like, but it's hard to stop dancing. Like, everyone says that dancers die twice. Once when they actually die, and the first time they die actually when they stop dancing. And the first death is always the hardest for everyone, because you need to find a new life after that, about choreographing, teaching, and all that stuff. I am someone who can compare it to other styles because I've been trained in other styles, and I only started ballet I took my first ballet class at 19, and I got into the professional school at 21. Which was the first case since the school opened nearly 100 years ago that they actually accepted me for I don't know what reason. But it's not about just, everyone thinks it's just about standing on your toe. But to be able to stand on your toe and not feel all that crazy pain, you have to have every single muscle in your body doing something. So when you stand on one leg on your toe, like your whole calf, you need to feel your calf rotating, your thigh rotating, your hip rotating, your hip from your hip socket, and then you need to pull up with your abs, with your lower abs. You need to pull your body upwards, so you're taking most of the weight off the foot. The other leg needs to rotate the other way. Everything the same. And your back needs to be held down, your front needs to be held up. Your shoulder blades need to be rotated in place. Elbow goes the opposite way, hand goes the opposite way. There's a lot of opposition and playing with the opposition. So you need, like, when you're trying to take a balance, if there's one muscle that isn't in place, even by a few millimeters, it just won't happen. You'll fall out of it. You won't be able to control it. Even your head also where you look, even your eyes, it can take the focus off and you can fall out of it. That's why it takes so many years. Like, normally ballet schools, it's an 8-year course to go through it. You start when you're 10, you graduate when you're 18, and if you're lucky enough, maybe half of you will be professional ballet dancers. Like, there's obviously kind of like a natural selection where people just can't handle it and they just quit along the way. And there's people that don't advance enough and they get thrown out of the school. And like, you start off with about 20 to 30 kids in like 2 groups in the school, and by the end of the 8 years there's maybe about 5 to 10 people left out of all of them. Yeah, and maybe half of them make it in the company and get jobs. The rest of you kind of have to swim along and find something else to do in life after all that struggle. At 8 years old, I went to rhythm gymnastics. I started competing soon after because I was advancing quite quickly because of my flexibility and my mom. And we had quite the Soviet-style training where they would give us a slap if we weren't doing well or pull our hair. but it was all for the good. It was working. It's a method that works. I hate to say, but it does work. It makes kids work. And I did quite well. In my age group, at one point I was the Latvian champion and represented Latvia in World Cups, like in Hungary, and I was traveling around a bit. And then at age 13 we moved to Ireland, where I wasn't able to continue because it was quite costly. Like sports schools here in Latvia are for free. So we couldn't afford at first. We thought maybe like my mom and dad thought maybe eventually we'd be able to afford it, but by that time I had found something else, which was freestyle disco jazz, which is that crazy style I do with all the flips and yeah. And I did 5 years of competing in that, where I went, there's like 5 levels: beginner, starter, intermediate, championship, and premier champ. So I went through all 5 levels until I became a prem champ. And then there's this huge competition that happens every year in Blackpool called Disco Kid, King and Queen. And I won it twice. Like, there's qualification rounds to get to the competition, and then there's about 200 people in each age group after all the other competitions to get to the competition. And yeah, I won it in 2013 and 2015. Because of all that, I also got nominated for a few awards that happened, like People's Choice Awards and Diva Nations Awards. And after that, I finished secondary school and I got into university in budget class for forensic chemistry and all that stuff. And I quit right away, nearly instantly. I just got a regular job and kept dancing because that was fun for me. I didn't think of it as a career at the time. It was just fun. And after about a year, I decided I need to start some kind of a career. And because of dancing, I enjoy doing makeup a lot. So I wanted to become a makeup artist. And the school that I wanted to get into, my portfolio wasn't strong enough to get into the budget class. So it was like, okay, I'll just wait out another year, make my portfolio better. I can't talk. Make my portfolio a bit better and then apply again. And yeah, I didn't want to waste that year because I had just set out a year and just worked. Didn't want to waste another year of just working. So yeah, I joined I found this dance college, College of Dance in Dublin. And I was like, oh, that might be quite fun because I like dancing. So I'll just dance for a year and then go do my career. And I got really sucked into it because I had a really cool teacher, and then she was teaching ballet a bit differently. I had tried ballet like for a month when I was 14, and it was so boring. I was like, get me out of here, and then never went back. And because I didn't understand it, or what happens inside. Like from the outside, all you see is leg in, leg out, whatever. Like you don't know what happens inside, and then it is boring because you're literally just putting your leg in and out. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. And this ballet teacher, she had a different way of presenting the class to you. She had this really positive energy, which really kind of like sucked me in. I was like, I want to know more. And the way she put it, she was like, if you do ballet class every day, you're gonna get thinner, which was something that I was interested in. You're gonna get nicer lines, and you're gonna be able to control your dancing better. I was like, you just put your legs in and out like that every day and you get all that? I can do that every day, no problem. Then eventually, obviously, I learned what you're supposed to do, and then it got harder. It gets harder every day. And because of that teacher, the teacher's son actually started teaching me too. He was also a ballet dancer, and they took me to the competition in Barcelona, where I won a residency, where I stayed half a year living in Barcelona, being a part of Barcelona City Ballet, which is kind of like a youth company where you don't earn money, but you work with them for experience. And after about half a year, I stopped and went back home because I didn't like the atmosphere there, and eventually I got injured because I was overworking myself, because I would be dancing all day and I would have to go to work at night in a bar. So it was very draining, because sometimes there would be nights where I would only get like 1 hour of sleep. So there was a lot of energy drinks, and it got to the point also that I wanted to get skinnier and skinnier as well, that I stopped eating at some point for a while, and I was just drinking a lot of tea and coffee with lots of sugar to get enough energy to go through the day, to the point where in one class, like, one quality that I have is that I can jump high, which a lot of girls don't have. That's a guy thing to do in ballet, to jump high. And there was a day when in class I couldn't get off the floor. I would bend my knees and try jump, and I didn't have the energy to get not even a centimeter off the floor. And I just kind of felt really weak, and I nearly fainted, I'd say. And then I realized it was wrong, so I started eating again. And after the injury, I went back home, I recovered, and I started dancing a bit again with my old teacher. And then I heard he was moving to Portugal. I didn't want to move to Portugal, so I just had this crazy idea. I was like, I'm gonna go check out what's going on in Latvia, because I hadn't been here for like nearly 10 years. So I just bought a one-way ticket here. And I thought like maybe there'd be a few weeks, a month, check out what's going on. Like I saw my godmother, I was staying with her at first, because that was like one of the few relatives that was left here that hadn't moved to Ireland. And my mom was laughing at first, because she was like, 28 countries in Europe and you choose Latvia? Like seriously? By the way, she's moving here in 3 days. So she broke her own rules that she thought of before. And when I moved here, I started working as a waitress, found my own place real quick, and one of my colleagues was a ballet dancer, and she had contacts in the Riga Ballet School, and she gave me the teacher's number, and the teacher looked at me and decided to take me on. So for the past 3 years, I've been dancing in the Riga Ballet School, which also provides work experience in the Riga National Theatre, National Opera. So I've been just dancing a lot and working bars and restaurants to pay the bills. Because like, obviously the rest of the girls in my course, they're like 5-6 years younger than me. So it's hard for them to understand that I need to pay my bills because they live with their families. And yeah, I was living in school dorms, working, dancing, just all by myself, living on my own rhythm. And yeah, now I've gotten to the point where I don't need to work bars and restaurants anymore, and I'm really delighted about it. Like I didn't get into theater, nor did I want to in the end, which I realized this summer. I was really creative before I started ballet school, but I realized that art-wise, ballet kind of tends to put you in a bit of a box. It puts a lot of rules around it. So I think ballet is a great way to learn the rules of how to move your body. It's like the alphabet. And then your job as a professional is to break away from the rules, to break the rules. So I'm kind of like really enjoying this summer getting away from it and getting out of it, but using the technique as a base, but breaking away from it, if that makes any sense. And so now I'm just like doing different projects, dance projects, making my own choreographies, teaching, lots of things. Anything that comes to mind, I just do it. Being skinny, first of all, it's lighter. You get a lot of a lighter jump, and it's easier to do things, and anything looks like aesthetically more pleasing on stage. Because on stage with the lights and the costumes, it adds a bit of a mass. So for me, in regular clothes, I would look normal, but I would see videos of myself dancing on stage, and I'm like, okay, I see why my teachers are telling me that I'm a bit like not thin enough. But like the sad thing is, mentally, is that they tell you these things that straight. They're like, you're never gonna dance this and this because you're never gonna be skinny enough for it. Like you don't look good doing that. And they would also kind of like deduct your grades as well. Like at the end of each month, we get stipendy, which means it's a state school, so the state pays us a little like allowance depending on our grades. So what they would do is, if you get worse grades, obviously don't get as much allowance. So they would like, if you're not aesthetically pleasing by the looks, they would deduct your grades by a few marks. Yeah. So in ballet school, I noticed that Yeah, I started thinking quite badly of myself, and my self-image really became extremely critical. There was points where I didn't like absolutely anything about myself. I was thinking that like I was ready to buy a one-way ticket back to Ireland. Like just drop it all, like finish it, like this isn't for me, I was clearly not shaped for it. But for some reason, like there was so many coincidences that put me on the path that I still believe there's something meant to be there. Now ballet is kind of like, it's a whole different way of living in general. Like you're not just a ballet dancer inside of the ballet studio, you're a ballet dancer 24/7. That is your life. Obviously we still go out and drink, like, but we kind of do it like so the other people don't know. And then there's a lot of drinks being brought in the school dorms. They're just hidden in places. But there's two types of ballet dancers. There's ones that are like the stereotypical ballet dancer, all like goody two-shoes and doing everything correctly, going to bed at night and all that stuff. And there's the regular ballet dancer, the more realistic ballet dancer, which like, you know what, I need to finish this night off with a beer, I deserve one. This was a tough day. I broke my arm once, but that was my own stupid mistake. Like we had these, when I was small, we had these kind of belts that we put around our back to keep our spine, the back muscles warm. And I had this thing that I put it down to my legs and I wanted to jump out of it and kick it up at the same time to catch it. But one of the legs wasn't out yet when I kicked it, so it took the other leg with it. So when both legs went up and I fell on my arm. And this is like 2 weeks before a competition. So me and my friend, she saw it happen and we made up a story so my coach wouldn't get mad. We made up a story that I felt really sick after the practice because we were after having 4 or 5 hours of training. So she was like, she came out of the toilet and she felt dizzy and she just fell down. We were too scared to tell her that I was just messing around being a kid and I broke my arm in the result. Yeah, I was so sad that I couldn't compete. I so wanted to compete that I was ready to just rip the cast off and go for it, like, but I didn't. And then the back injury, I was doing a lot of dancing, using my back a lot, didn't strengthen it, didn't take care of it properly until it just gave up. And then it got to the point where I had a hard time putting on my socks, like, because I couldn't bend even like slightly forward, slightly back. So when you brush your teeth, you had to like find arrangements so you can hold yourself. Or when you put on your socks, you need to put your arm like, kind of like your leg like this, and you just try to like hook the sock on it, like, please go on my leg, like, it was difficult. And then ballet was the thing that actually saved me from that injury, because it taught me how to like, how to hold my spine correctly. And then it got better and better with time, and now like I barely feel the difference. Like I'm not as flexible as I was before. I'll never get that back. That flexibility is gone and I don't even want to risk it anymore. But I can walk, I can bend, I can do stuff. And another one is I just had a surgery last year on my foot. There's this little bone between the heel and the Achilles, which is the big tendon here. And when your bones are going through puberty, that little tiny bone, osteogonum, is supposed to like go together with your heel. But for a lot of people, actually, it doesn't. So it just stays like a little bone. And when you use your foot a lot, when it has a wide range of motion, which is some point shoes, it can pop out of place and just swim around there. So I needed it removed because I couldn't use my foot. I was really proud to finally take the step to stop with food and beverage business, because I stopped it in mid-August this year, so I did full 7 years in it. And the original plan when I started was just 1 year and then find a different job. I didn't plan for it to stay the whole 7 years. And I tried many other things. Oh yeah, while I was in ballet school, between juggling full-time ballet school for 3 years and a job to pay my bills, I also managed to get a fitness trainer degree, like a certificate that I'm a professional trainer. Also, I did a tattooing course. I'm a professional tattoo artist. Forgot to mention that. Yeah, I also tried the car dealing, like when I was a car dealer in online casinos. Like, I've tried a lot of other things in between. I don't know where I find time for it. My life is, in Latvian there's a term, kishmish arrozina. It's like a mix of everything and add some raisins on top. Like it's a mix of everything and no one has any idea what's going on. Not even I have any clue what's going on. I just roll with it. I just go with the flow.